Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy Smith, and welcome to episode number 75 of the Rambler Podcast, where we are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. And today we're happy to have Sage Beardsley on as a guest. Sage graduated from Villa Maria Academy in 2017 and is currently an Associate Director of Development at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, where she focuses on advancing the university's fundraising efforts. Sage holds a degree in International Studies and Global Health from the University of Dayton. Her career began in international development, where she worked with a non-governmental organization in Washington, D.C., before transitioning to higher education fundraising. After her time at the University of Dayton, Sage joined Vanderbilt, bringing her knowledge of development and passion for education to support the university's mission. Outside of work, Sage is passionate about mentoring students, a role she embraces through her connection with her undergraduate alma mater. She is also an avid reader and has a deep love for traveling and exploring new cultures. When she's not traveling, Sage enjoys attending concerts, immersing herself in live music experiences, and sharing those moments with friends and family. So we're happy to have you, Sage. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, that works out. Nashville, Tennessee, and you have a passion for live music experiences. That kind of worked out really nice for you, didn't it?
It did. You can walk down the street and always hear some sort of live music going on.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And we were mentioning before recording, you've been fresh in your new role at Vanderbilt for about 8 weeks. So you're getting to know the city a little bit then of Nashville and getting around a little bit?
I am. It's been great. It's a really easy city to navigate, so that's been super helpful. And the university is right downtown in the hub of everything, so it's a very lively part of town to be a part of.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I'm sure it's been a great experience. And anytime you take a new job, new city, a lot of exciting, I'm sure you're meeting tons of new people. But congrats again on the new position.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's exciting. You're a recent, alumnus, graduating from Villa in 2017, and you're doing great things with your career. So excited to talk to you today about your career journey, some of the things you're learning already at your age, and the things you've been able to do. But before we get into a little bit more about your career, let's, if you don't mind, reflecting with us a little bit about, your time at Villa. And maybe starting with why you chose to attend Villa, and what that experience was like for you. Because I know you weren't necessarily from you didn't necessarily expect to go to Villa right away, correct?
Correct. I am not a generational Victor or Rambler. This was a brand new experience for my family to be in the Villa Victor family. What really excited me about attending Villa was I was raised Catholic and I was very in tune with my Catholic faith. So I knew I wanted to integrate that more into my studies. So I looked at other schools in the area, but truly felt a sense of belonging and home at Villa, which says something because I'm originally from Northeast. So it was a little bit of a hike to get there. So thank you to my parents who made that commitment and allowed me to really pursue what I wanted to get out of a high school education.
And was faith that leading aspect then for you going to Villa? Was that the strongest thing for you, the choosing to go there?
I think that was definitely my number one priority. And two, I wanted something a little bit different. I have older siblings that went through the school system in my hometown, and my parents also worked in that same school system. So I wanted to sort of step outside of what it meant to be somebody's little sister or somebody's daughter and really kind of create my own narrative.
Yeah, well, good for you, to be willing to make that decision, especially to your point, your parents taking you from where they were working in that school system, it sounded like, and then going all the way out to Villa to drop you off for school every day and obviously picking you up. So, yeah, good for you to be able to make that decision. And then when you were at Villa, you obviously start to meet a whole new friend group and you get to meet these teachers. You get involved with different activities or sports. What were some of your favorite memories you created from your years there?
I think it's natural to automatically talk about like the big wins as some of my favorite memories. I was on a state championship cross country team, all of these really big productions through Father Mike. But as I reflected, sort of preparing for this, I really realized how important and special the little memories were. So laughing at my lockers and playing pranks on each other with my friend group, or waiting for the bus for cross country, sort of the in-betweens really made and shaped my villa experience. And it all boils down to the girls I got to spend it with.
Mm. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think, whether you went to Villa or prep, those relationships that you form during your time there are brothers or sisters, through the school. It's amazing how those last beyond your years as a student too.
Absolutely. I'm still in contact with my core group of girlfriends. And actually, one of the first people that I connected with coming back down to Nashville was one of my peers from my class that we hadn't talked in a while, but it was like we just met yesterday, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's so much fun. And obviously, it sounds like you had a great experience from your time at Villa. And how do you think Villa helped shape you into the person you are today, both personally and professionally? How do you think that helped you for your career and your life?
I think Villa teachers, especially, did a wonderful job at honing in on curiosity and really pushing us to think outside the box and maybe approach problems from three different ways to get to the same answer, but really diving into how can we get there one way? How can we make it more efficient? How can we maybe take a longer route, but it was a more creative route? So translating that into, higher education as a student really set me apart from my peers. And then as a professional, it's kind of given me an edge in terms of, oh, we've never done it like that before, but let's give it a try. Oh, that worked. Or, hey, that didn't work. Let's workshop that and see what we can do better. And I think the space that Villa educators provided, that safety of it's okay to make a mistake. Let's try it out. And if you do something well with it, great. If not, how did we go wrong and how can we change it next time?
Yeah, that's all really good. And it's so important to not just be taught information to repeat it for a test, but to actually learn how to think, right? So your point about the curiosity and to explore and to know different ways to get to an answer. Those are so crucial. And it's great to hear that you had that experience at Villa. And were there certain teachers through your years that you look back on and those are the ones you really remember most, or coaches that impacted you, things like that?
There are very few teachers and coaches that didn't leave a lasting impression on me, but definitely the matriarchal, you have your CF, your Furman, your Martin, and Mrs. Rastetter in the office, who these are just really powerful women who set the example of being entirely and authentically yourself and how you can show up for who you are and then translate that to what you do in your friendships. It was incredible. And then when I needed more of a softer touch or a listening ear, definitely Mr. Strasser was the person I went to the most. I cried in that office. I laughed in that office. He was just the salt of the earth.
Yeah. Well, and it's so important for us to have role models, right? People that we look up to. And when they can be your teachers, people that you're with every day, it's even better because you're around people that you look up to for different reasons, right? Different characteristics they have, personality, things that they're doing with their life that you want to emulate. Those, type of role model, mentor type of people are so important for all of us to have. And at Villa and Prep, there's been some amazing, teachers and staff members that have came through the schools through the years. So, who have really left, impact for generations on kids like us who have been through the school.
And on that note, I never, it being in high school, it's such this, malleable age of who am I, who do I want to be? But the teachers and the support staff that I experienced, they had the utmost respect for us as kids and then believed in us beyond anything that we could even achieve. And so having those support systems in place, I truly believed I could do anything. And because of that belief, I think I achieved a lot more than maybe I should have or could have at that age initially.
Yeah. and opening that door of possibility, right? To your point, if they believe in you to be able to do these great things, then you might not even believe that yourself yet. It helps expand your vision for what you could do, just not just at high school, but beyond that, of course. Um, so when you were only a few years out from graduating from Villa when the news of the merger and the consolidation of both Prep and Villa was announced in that fall of 2020. So you were just kind of fresh out of school to be able to hear that news. Obviously, a lot of people were upset about it, a lot of questions about it. And now today, the school together is thriving with boys and girls. But when you first heard that news, what was your kind of reaction and, your thoughts? But then maybe what are your thoughts now having seen what the school is today?
Yeah, absolutely. So to say I was shocked would be an understatement, but I think the biggest emotion that I felt was hurt because of the way that the news was delivered. There's a lot of people who truly care about the Villa identity, and I can't speak for everyone, but this is just my personal reflection. I think where the hurt came from is looking at how things were presented. We didn't see Villa, right? We didn't see the girls. We didn't see our identity. We didn't see the blue and white, the 1820. We didn't see any of that. So I was really hurt. But where I am now is in a great place with the school. And a lot of that had to come from me choosing to, I can't leave these girls behind, right? So if I'm going to choose not to support the school because of something that, like the merger, then I'm also choosing not to support the girls that I once called sisters. So making that progression was something that I needed to take that step forward. But stepping forward, I also needed the school to step towards me as well. So meeting in the middle and hearing each other out and having a lot of really constructive, authentic opportunities to connect helped me look forward to a narrative that is coming. And props to the staff at Cathedral Prep for willing to answer those emails and calls and me showing up on your doorstep, because it really helped me understand where you were coming from. And I think if more people opened up to that or gave the school a chance, then they would see that, at the heart of it, these are still our Villa Victors. They are thriving. They are doing incredible things. It's just there's also boys in the classroom now. And it's much more than that, but I think that was the biggest thing for me, was kind of putting my pride aside and realizing, hey, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it full-heartedly, and I have to support every aspect of what's going forward, and coming together in this commonality of we want to support these students.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that was a very good message to be able to give. And thank you for sharing that too. Um, I think about the students, to your point, that are in the building now, and the ones that are there now, they don't know about this big picture thing that happened a few years ago. They only know the school that they're in now. But when they look up to Sage Beardsley and know you're an alumnus of the school, that means something. And to see that you're there to support them means the most, right? It's about the kids who are in the building now. So for them to be able to look at you to say you're an alum, you're supporting what they're doing, that's what means the most. And I often, if I do speak to an alum like yourself who maybe was upset at the time, I am always quick to say, hey, I'm thankful that you're upset. I'm glad that you're upset, not because of what we did, but because you care about the school. That means that you're passionate about the school. If you just didn't care and you were lukewarm about it, then you're not as passionate about your experience at Villa or your time there. But because you're upset, that shows that you do care and you do want to see the school be successful for years to come for the men and women that are in the building today. So yeah, it's definitely still walking that line with people. And to your point, us coming to meet them, but them coming to meet us, having those constructive conversations and trying our best to continue to mend those fences and build those bridges. So yeah, it's great to hear about your progression there and the journey that you've had.
Absolutely.
Um, well, in regards to your career journey, we can talk a little bit about that now and some of the things you've gone on to do and study and whatnot. You first went on to study international studies and global health at Dayton. Um, why those fields were you interested in when after you left Villa and you decided that was what you wanted to pursue?
Absolutely. So, international studies is really akin to international business, international relations. They're all under the same umbrella, same family. And the reason why I chose that at the University of Dayton was because I knew that at some point I wanted to study abroad. And I also wanted to kind of diversify my learning when it came to different cultures and different ways that people work in the world. And the program at University of Dayton really appealed to me. And then the global health sector is, I thought a little bit about doing something in public health or transitioning maybe into a doctoral study later on down the road. And that was just something that sort of seamlessly fit together. And that was what first got me into that. And then as I took classes and I had some amazing experiences abroad, it just stuck that way. And that's what I kept up with.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Where were some of the places that you got to study abroad?
So I worked in China for 3 months. I was doing English curriculum, and that was the first time I had ever left the country. I got on a, what was it, 22-hour plane ride to China, which was an experience that I will forever cherish. And then I also studied abroad in Madrid, Spain for 9 months.
Wow. I'm
hmm
sure both were like just amazing experiences, uh, crazy plane rides, getting all the way out there and being able to stay there. But 3 months, you said 9 months in Madrid?
hmm
And how was that
Yes.
one?
That was phenomenal. I stayed with the host family, so I was really able to expand upon my Spanish learning, the language itself, and my host mom was a fantastic cook, so I learned so much from her. And then being in the capital, I experienced so many other different cultures even within that subsector of culture, and it was so easy to get to other countries as well. So I truly made the most of my time abroad and met some incredible people that I've visited overseas since, which has been fantastic as well.
Now, do you still have a couple dishes you make from your time over there that you learned the recipes for?
I did, yeah. My host mom, her number one dish that she said I had to learn, it was Madrilenian staple, was paella, which is a rice dish with lots of different seafood. And I've made it for my friends a couple times, and anytime they come to visit, that is the one thing that they request. It is a pain to make, but it is delicious to experience and have with friends, so I don't mind.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm sure those were amazing experiences, and I'm sure going to China for the first time out of the country was just super eye-opening and an amazing experience there. Being in Madrid, how much fun, and lining up with your passions too, of course, with what you were studying as well, not just being abroad to take classes there, but it was really lining up with some of the things that you were passionate about as well. And so you kind of were going down this path of studying these types of things. You were in DC and you were working in international development, correct?
Mhm.
But then you transitioned to high ed fundraising. Um, how was that transition? How did that happen? And was there like a defining moment that really sparked that for you? Or how did that come about?
So I think I can safely say that nobody wakes up and wants to be a fundraiser. This is not a kindergartner who's writing, when I grow up, I want to ask people for money. But I think the way in which I transitioned into it is as I was reflecting on my collegiate career and even in high school, I am a product of fundraising. I would not have been able to attend Villa if it was not for the generosity of donors. I would not have been able to attend the university if there weren't donor funded scholarships that I had received.
Mm,
And knowing that I'm not in a position to make those scholarships happen, I'm on the other side of the table. I knew that there was a real opportunity for me to make an impact on students and people in higher education through the connections and the opportunities that I had. And even my study abroad experiences were all donor funded. And
mm,
so having those opportunities that I would not have had elsewhere is so eye-opening. And I think people don't even realize how often they're impacted by fundraising. So actually, I was involved with an organization called Students for University Advancement as a undergrad. And what they did is we talked to our peers about fundraising. So I know Prep has a giving day every year. A lot of universities have annual giving days, and it's 24 hours of just fundraising. And so talking to my peers about what that means and helping them learn about how they are impacted by whether donor funded scholarships or even kind of getting into collegiate athletics like NIL deals, that's a form of fundraising. And
Mm.
so it was all very fascinating to me. And I knew I wanted to sort of transition out of international development. This was during COVID. I wasn't traveling. So it all just sort of fell into place that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say nobody kind of says they want to be a fundraiser, right? When you're a kid, and even when I was in college, it wasn't like I thought I'd get into fundraising. Um, I always said I wanted to make a difference, and so I end up kind of falling into the position I was in at prep, and then end up now I'm in the development, office here at the school. And you realize, wow, I really can make a difference. Even if these kids, right? I didn't understand what that meant when I was a kid. But to your point, I wouldn't be able to go to prep if it wasn't for the alumni and donors who were supporting the school at the time and do the different opportunities I had. But, thank God they did make those contributions for both prep and Villa through the years. So we both had the opportunity to be at the schools we were at. So you start to realize how important our work is. You start to realize the impact that you can be a part of helping a donor connect with their cause and what they're passionate about. It's really exciting to be able to do that. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from with that. And that kind of worked out nice for you to be able to be tied in with something that you were passionate about as well. Now, you've been at Vanderbilt for 8 weeks so far. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
just about 2 months.
Okay. So, do you mind sharing with us more about what like your type of position does as an associate director of development? What does your role entail? And it's still early on, but like, what do you enjoy most about this type of work that you're doing now at Vanderbilt?
Absolutely. So I work specifically with our School of Medicine and Basic Sciences, and something that's really inspiring that Vanderbilt is working towards is tuition free for our med students. So you see schools
Mm.
like Johns Hopkins and NYU pursuing this and doing this. It's if you get into this school, you shouldn't have to worry about all of the monetary expectations. Like we want to attract the best talent. We want to attract the people who truly care about what they're doing and are passionate about the medical field, whether it's through research or through practicing medicine. So my job as a fundraiser is to connect with the people, the alumni, the friends of the university who also share that same mission. So finding those kind of connections of what was your time like here? What did you get involved with? Oh, students are still doing that. And this is how they're expanding upon that. So making those connections and making sure that we have, Vanderbilt celebrating 150 years at their med school, making sure that we're ensuring that there's 150 plus more years for our students.
Mm. And I think it's so important to have a vision like that, to be able to say we're striving to have tuition free for the students because we want to have the best students and we want to have these types of kids who are here. So if they get accepted in, they don't need to worry about if they can afford it or not. We just want the ones that are accepted to be able to come here, experience the programs we have to offer, and then be able to go on and do great things in the world. When you have a vision like that, I'm sure it gets you excited to go out there and talk to potential donors about it as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so tangible, the difference and impact that we're able to make. You see, especially meeting with older alums, whether it's at Vanderbilt or elsewhere that were in the medical field, there's years and years and decades of hard work that they put in that's also tied and associated with student loans and student debt. And we want to
Mm.
alleviate that as much as possible. Like you said, we want to attract the talent. We want people to med school's hard enough as it is. We don't want you worrying about the financial aspect of it either. So really listening and hearing that impact and then hearing people get excited about what we're doing and wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah. It gives you energy, right? It's exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. To be able to talk with people who are excited about the things that, you're striving for. It's cool. It makes those connections with alumni and donors that much more unique and special. Um, so you've been working in fundraising for a little bit now. What's a maybe, particular rewarding or maybe I'll call it memorable fundraising campaign you've worked on, that is something that really sticks with you as part of like a great experience. And then maybe you can share just a couple things about what do you think made that experience so successful?
Absolutely. So Vanderbilt right now is in their Dare to Grow campaign, which has been highly successful. But the campaign that I definitely hold most near and dear to my heart is at the University of Dayton. They launched their first campaign in 20 years, which in higher
Wow.
education, that is sort of unheard of to have that long between campaigns. And the campaign name was We Soar. And I had the unique opportunity to sort of hear about it in the quiet phase as a student. And then, years later, being part of the launch on our annual giving day as an employee and a staff member. So, sort of being part of the full circle. And that campaign closes in this June. So that's
Okay.
been really, really exciting to see that from the genesis to all of the impact that they've made to the closing date here in a few months. So seeing that, when you talk about excitement when it comes to fundraising, that is it. You see the
Yeah.
energy of the students understanding more what philanthropy means, how they've been impacted. You see the alumni getting excited about the annual giving day community alumni challenges, and also just the faculty and staff who see the work that they do highlighted on a brand new scale. That's definitely a memorable campaign as the early parts of my career unfold. That is something that I will always cherish.
Yeah, there's nothing better than, being a part of something from the genesis of it, seeing all the work and effort by your office, your team that was put into it, and then through the years being able to see, you said it's closing this June is the end of the
Hmm.
campaign. So I'm sure you're cheering them on and, wishing them the best to finish it out strong. But to know that you played a role in that, to be able to see the impact that the school has because of it, I'm sure it's been something that, to your point, you cherish and you hold on to as a memorable experience. Now, when it comes to our type of work, so people are listening to this episode who don't work in fundraising. They're hearing about, some exciting things that we get to do and some of the part that gives us energy in terms of talking with donors and potential donors and alumni. But can you share like, some of the challenges that you've also found in your work and some of the things that have been potential roadblocks or just things that you've seen through your career that maybe you struggled with at first and now you've learned how to do it well. But what were some of the challenges that you've seen in your career?
I think the biggest challenge currently right now is people are wondering what higher education is going to look like 5 years
Mhm.
from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. What does that landscape entail? And so there's one of two ways that this can go. One, donors, friends at the university, or constituents that you and I work with, they don't want to invest because they don't see other people investing. Like if they're not seeing the potential in this, then why should I? But then you have the flip side of that same coin, and it's the people who understand now more than ever how important it is to invest in research and higher education in the students holistically. So whether that's from, mental health avenues or academic scholarships or sports, all of the things in between, innovation and learning, how can we show up for our students? I think before it was, hey, I have money to give, I'm going to give it, do whatever you want with it. And I think there's a lot of students that greatly benefited from that because it was coming out of an endowment. Now people are getting more specific with how they want to give because they have more of a stake in it. They're like, if I'm giving this percentage of my estate or I'm doing this work, I want to make sure that it's relevant to me. So having more of a stake in the narrative, it can sometimes be challenging because you need to make
Mhm.
sure that the opportunity is there. Sometimes we can create it and it's great and it's beneficial, and other times it's not a high priority for the university as a whole, where it might be a high priority for our donor. So where can we meet them where both sides benefit from the impact that they want to make? And then the other challenging part was just sometimes you have people who have never given a dime in their life, which is really, really exciting that we get to be sort of the light on the porch for them. Like, come on in, welcome home. We're really excited that you're investing in this now. And so talking about the different avenues in which you can give. Sometimes it's just an outright gift. Sometimes it's scholarship, endowment. Other times it's through a planned gift, which comes through your bequests and wills and estates later on in life. So knowing when and how people want to give and being educated on our end so they have the best experience with giving at first was challenging, and now it's, second nature.
Yeah. Well, and certainly there's things that impact our work that sometimes are out of our control, whether it's the state of the economy or in politics and just different things that are happening. So to your first point, you're talking about just what's going to happen with higher ed. It's like those are some very high level abstract questions about what could happen. And here you are just trying to talk to them about giving towards the students that are there now and not thinking 5-10 years, but to a donor who has a concern on that, you do want to handle that and discuss those concerns with them. So yeah, there's definitely certain challenges that, we face in these conversations with people that sometimes impact us on a level that working with the donors. And then sometimes there's these bigger questions that are harder to answer specifically, but our conversations can hopefully instill confidence in them about the work that we're doing at the schools and whatnot to help them make those decisions appropriately.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've had, so how many years total have you been working in fundraising, by the way?
It's just shy of 4.
Just shy of 4 years. So what's one lesson that you've learned so far through your career that you wish you maybe would have already knew starting off?
The worst thing someone can tell you is no, and the best thing somebody can tell you is yes. So don't be afraid to make that ask.
Mm. Were you a little bit hesitant to ask at first, or were you pretty confident to go in regardless?
I think I've always had this air of confidence to me, maybe too much so, naively so at the beginning. But I think the most challenging part for me is I was so young when I started that I didn't have a true concept of money, to be honest. I knew personal finances at somebody that was adequate for somebody at my age, but working with people who have been very, very successful for years and years, it's hard to conceptualize some of the monetary gifts that we were receiving. So I feel that some of my first asks and interactions might have been significantly lower than they should have been. So just being educated on that aspect. But I mean, we've kind of hit on this before. There's not a true education for fundraising. It is truly a baptism by fire sometimes, and you just got to learn from those mistakes. And a lot of times the people that you're working with are so flexible when it comes to, I understand you're new, or this is new for us. So learning together and navigating it is definitely something that you can lean on, but don't be afraid to make those asks 100%.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, whether it's fundraising or somebody listening to this who works in sales, any type of development work, that is the first hurdle you got to get over, is being willing to hear no and not having the fear of the phone. And honestly, the thing that got me through it in the beginning was just doing more of it, which sounds funny. I at one point thought, well, maybe if I listen to another podcast about it or read another book about it. It's like none of those things matter more than just getting on the phone and meeting with people and just asking over and over again. And eventually you kind of become this bulletproof in a sense where you do just kind of learn that no is part of the journey, and it's not something you need to be afraid of. That person, you don't always know their complete story and what's going on. And maybe a year from now, it's better timing from them, maybe 5 years from now. So those are things certainly that I think we all have to learn in the beginning. Your baptism by fire thing is very true.
Yes, yes. And I think another real quick note on that is something that I would have loved to have heard sooner was Sage Beardsley is not asking for money. The university in which I'm representing is asking for money. So when they tell me no, it's not me that they're rejecting, it is the university. And you're right, it could be no, not at this time, or we have other priorities. It's not a personal failure if they don't reciprocate because they're not able to. It's the university sort of thing. So I think that was something I wish I would have maybe known sooner as well.
Yeah, certainly. And for people who are listening that are maybe younger in their career, whether they're just getting out of college or they're around the same age as you, but aspiring to, continue on in their career, what's some advice that you give them, whether it's getting into development and fundraising or just growing themselves professionally in their chosen field? What's some advice that you would give them based on what you've learned so far?
I think the biggest thing is if you see a position or a job that's really appealing to you, there's two things I would suggest. One, find someone in that field, whether it's a personal friend, a mutual connection on LinkedIn, somebody that went to your school. Find someone to recruit as a mentor, whether it is a one-off mentorship where you have a 15-minute Zoom session, learn about their day-to-day and see if it still resonates with you. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to love the fact that you reached out to them. They're going to be so excited to talk about what they do and why they love it and why you should too. I mean, you and I were talking about development, and for those of you who are listening, our faces are just alit with glee. Like, it is so exciting for us. And then the second part of that is you might feel like you're underqualified, but if you have the energy to learn and the space to grow in your life, go for it. Employers are so excited by the opportunity to teach and to mentor and to shape that, all right, maybe you don't have 5 to 6 years of experience. Maybe you have 1, 2, 3. Go for it anyways. Like we said earlier, the worst they can say is no, and no opportunity meant for you will ever miss you. So just go for it anyways.
Absolutely. And I think it's also it's a confidence booster for you to get out there and put yourself out there and say, you know what, I maybe don't meet all those qualifications that they're listing, but I could absolutely do this job. And I think it's that confidence you were talking about earlier, being able to just step out there and put yourself out there and try and do your best. That's so true that employers are really looking for those self-starters, those people who are initiators, things that are kind of the intangibles that they can then shape and mold and help them with what they're looking to do for their companies or organizations, things of that nature. So looking ahead, Sage, obviously you're only 8 weeks in at Vanderbilt, but what are some of your personal and professional goals for the future? What do those look like for you?
Definitely. So one thing that really attracted me to this position at Vanderbilt was the opportunity to grow. I mentioned earlier that our campaign right now is Dare to Grow. It is a common theme across all Vanderbilt institutions and university that, they really take care of their people in terms of growth and opportunities. So just moving up the pipeline that way is really appealing and something that I'm working toward and striving towards. And personally, I'm in such a great place, brand new city. So just continuing to expand my friend group and also getting out and doing a little bit more personal travel is definitely on the docket for me in my personal life.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure you're seeing some concerts, going to some music events. I'm sure you're looking forward to all of that this coming year, being in Nashville for the summer for the first time there. That'll be nice.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I got one final question for you as we start to wind down on this episode of the podcast. So this is a little fun bonus question. I like to ask all the alumni who come on, kind of as like the last question for the episode. But so if you could go back in time and talk to give yourself some advice when you were a student at Villa, what would you say to yourself if you could go back to that time?
Well, if I could catch myself, I'd be surprised because I was doing a million and one things. But I think the biggest piece of advice that I would offer would be take a breather. I think I was so caught up in the idea of being this complete person, like, oh, I have to be doing this, I have to be doing this. I was really, really focused on the future that I missed out on so much of the present. So just, take the opportunity to celebrate the wins that you have and also the growth and the losses. There was so many times where I would already be thinking about what I could do better or where I could go next before I even completed what I was doing. And so really just taking a step back, being present in the moment. Not that I would listen at the ripe age of 16, but in theory, if I did and would, that's definitely what I would tell her.
Yeah, certainly. And I think all of us can learn from that. We can get so busy and all the work we have to do. We're thinking about the next campaign, the next this, the next that. It's kind of slowing down and just appreciating the moments. And I'm a dad of 4 kids, so I think I try to do that more proactively now than ever. But just slowing down and enjoying these moments with the family, with where we're at with our time at prep and work and the things that are happening here. Those can be so crucial. So I think young Sage would have listened and she would have had, oh, look at that old Sage coming back, coming to talk to young Sage to give her some advice. I think she would have listened to the wisdom you had for her. So
I would like to think so.
yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun connecting with you today. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule with the new position to be able to record this episode of the podcast. It's probably a little bit extra fun for me talking to somebody who's in the similar field to be able to hear about the things you're doing in your career. But honestly, all our listeners too, I'm sure have learned a few things for you while you've been when talking as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jimmy, for thinking of me. I'm always eager to talk about Villa and Prep. And again, it's been really wonderful connecting, especially with someone in development. So I hope our listeners had a good time today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sage.